Hey, what is up guys? GuitarRock here, welcome back to another Brown Dust 2 video. Alright, let's talk a little bit about the Powder of Hope characters available right now in the current season. Now, I was delaying this video because I was trying to make a much more informed decision myself, doing a little bit more testing in terms of a few other characters for the Powder of Hope category, right? So that's going to be specifically for Water Park Queen Wilhelmina. So pretty much I can conclude that she is going to be a little bit subpar compared to the current Zenith that we have. So therefore, if you are picking her up, it's going to depend on two factors, right? That means number one, you either already have Zenith. Number two, she should be the one that's leaning towards ideally you should get one copy, right? Of course, that's pretty much no-brainer, but you should try to consider getting the main one first, right? The main one is going to be the priority. Either way, this costume is going to be the complementary one for Wilhelmina herself. Now let's talk a little bit more about that. With that, all of these short characters, that is going to be very, very important. First things first, let's talk about the Evil Castle. Alright, reset already, Maid Liatris is there, absolutely must have. I would highly recommend you guys to get her. She is one of the best character to help you either in story content or just in general, right? Liatris is the strongest fire DPS character in the game. Now, even though this particular condition, there's one condition where she needs to apply DOT, alright, to the enemy before she can do like bonus damage, even if your multiplier is 550%, right, at +5, or let's say you have her at a little bit lesser. You have her at +2 or something, right? So at 3 SP, 475% is still pretty good. If you build her well, she's probably going to be able to carry you in a lot of story contents because she's a vault or a skip type character that can hit a 3x3 tile. Absolutely, you should get her, no questions asked, right? That's why if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys are farming constantly for this particular thing. This is going to be the PvP shop. Alright, you gotta do PvP in this game. Again, I'll have a separate guide. Been a busy week for me, right? So try my best, right? But a lot of things comes down to you doing PvP regularly. You don't have to constantly win battles, just do them regularly. Even if you lose, you get the Medal of the Fighting Spirit. Now, mine is already +5. You know, if you already +5 a character, you can basically get them to convert it to the golden thread, which you can buy more characters, or you can also buy stuff like this, or this one absolutely you need to buy, right? The refining crystal. I'll talk about that separately in a separate video. But Maid Liatris, yes, get her. If you haven't already +5 her, please do get her. Now let's talk about the golden thread. One that I get asked a lot is about Natus. Should you get Natus? Now this is going to be a bit complicated. Now yes, Natus is a dude, I understand that, alright? If you are a dude hater, don't get the dude, alright? If you are here for waifus, get your waifus, alright? So as someone like me, they have plenty of golden thread, you can see right here above my head. This is going to be a lot of currency right here, right? Generally, Natus is going to be a very complex character. So number one, this guy, he got buffed recently, right? It used to be like 3 turns or 4 turns or something. Now it's 1 turn. Basically, you can spam his skill multiple times, alright? You can see right here, if you can potentially liberate him, he will become 4 SP. Now, there's a lot of characters that can hit in the same tile range that Natus can, alright? This straight line right here that goes straight is going to be not unique to Natus, right? A few characters that I can name is going to be number one, Yumi. She's a collab character, I understand, right? But she can basically do the same thing right here. You can see, right? So if you max that, you basically get that. There's also like characters like Eclipse that can hit cross tile. In my opinion, that's going to be better. I believe Sherazade as well. They can also hit in the straight line for her main default costume, which is going to be this particular one. She got buffed to have the additional tile range as well. In my opinion, some teams benefit Sherazade more because she hits 3 times as opposed to just hitting 1 time. Now the problem with hitting 1 time is you get less chain, less damage generally, and also you are going to not be able to benefit from certain characters that can give you bonus chain, including like Wedding Raffia, etc, etc. So here's the thing though about Natus, right? If you look at right here, every single one of her pluses, her dupes, his dupes, right? You can see if you get 1 copy, he can already be 4 SP and 1 turn. Tile range doesn't change. So if you go up to +1, +2, +3, +4, +5, it's just going to be multiplier increase for him, right? Now, by default, he's going to be a 300%. If the enemy is physical type, he can hit for 600%. Not too bad right there. Now, is Natus a good or a bad character? It is going to be very very dependent on the enemies that you're fighting, right? Because she hits in the straight line. So if the enemy lines up in a straight line, or if you can maximize the range, then yes. The only downside is Natus is a character that hits very front. That's also going to be a big problem, right? If you are depending on what you're doing, right? Because I prefer skip characters naturally in most story content, but in tower, sometimes how often do you basically get a characters that just line up in the straight line, right? Maybe sometimes you get it, maybe sometimes you don't. In bosses, I can already confirm that Natus is going to be one of the best magic DPS for dark type. Alright? Now, there's only 2 DPS for the dark type characters right now. Alright, for magic type. Magic DPS, one is Natus, one is Eclipse. Natus, by far going to be much more free to play friendly compared to Eclipse. Now, even though you get one Eclipse already, the wedding one, alright, the bright Eclipse, that's not going to be enough. One of the Eclipse costume is locked behind the being limited. There's also 2 more other costumes. So it might be harder for new players to try to build a fully built Eclipse, right? Compared to Natus, which is just 1 costume. I'm not sure if Natus will have more costumes in the future, but Eclipse definitely is better if you have all the costumes, because she covers all the ranges. Natus only has 1 straight line. So that's going to be the difference. But if you don't have all the Eclipse costume, is Eclipse better though, right? So in that case, Natus might be better because you can spam his skill. 4 SP can be a bit expensive depending on the situation, but still, if you care about meta, I would say Natus is not that bad of an investment. He is going to be alright. Currently, I already have him at +4, right? I can definitely get one more just to +5 him, just to max him, and just to max him out. Now, if you care about him being a dude and you don't want to use dude, I understand whatsoever. Alright, with that, it's up to you entirely, but he's not bad, especially for a lot of people that do not have Eclipse, if you're trying to go for magic, right? Now let's talk about Powder of Hope then. By far, the number 1 character that you should be getting is REFI right here. If you haven't already, please get her, +5 her as soon as you can. This is by far the best REFI costume, period. Alright, if you guys haven't checked out my tier list, she is ranked number 1 because she's superior compared to the other 2. This costume allows you to do a lot of crazy things with her chain reinforcement in the Tower of Salvation, which is an endgame content that you will need to do, rotate around regularly. Alright, that's pretty much like this game's Spiral Abyss in a way, right? Alongside with a few other contents that the other 2 might not shine at, like Last Night and in Campaign, for example, right? Now the swimsuit REFI, some players have asked me, why would I rank that lower, right? Swimsuit REFI is good for Fiend Hunter, is good for guild raids where you need to set up the characters. But in certain content in the game, like story and stuff, you don't have multiple turns, multiple rounds to set up a character. And that's where this particular REFI comes in, because just chain reinforcement and even the energy guard can help you if you build her correctly, right? With the max HP and stuff. So obviously, potentially liberate her so that you get the extra range as well. This is going to be extremely useful. By far, one of the best costumes in the game for support. If you have Wilhelmina, and also if you have Zenith as well, this costume is going to increase proportionally. She's just a very flexible character, can be used both in magic and physical team. So highly recommend the pure White Blessing REFI. She should be your number 1 priority if you can only get 1 out of all of these 4. Now, which one is going to be the second one? So you can see we got Dimension Witch Eclipse. We also get Laid Back Lifeguard Nebri. Now, the other 3 is going to be dependent on whether or not you have the other costumes. So let's talk about Laid Back Lifeguard Nebri first, because she's going to be much more easier to talk about, right? The strongest Nebri costume is going to be this particular one, the Office Nebri, right? This one is going to give you the most damage. As you can see, 25% increase for each buff you have. Now the other 2 costumes is going to give you the buff, right? It's going to give you all the buff. You stack this up with you try to follow the order, right? You usually use this particular one, use this one, and then you use this one last. However, unless it's in Last Night or like Guild Raids or Fiend Hunter, if you're talking about general content, similar to the swimsuit REFI, you don't really have the time to set things up. So in story or in like Tower of Salvation, you're not going to use her generally. So in those contents, like that you need much more fast-paced action, she might be a little bit not super viable there, but she's still one of the best win DPS physical character right now. It's either her or Grey, right? So pick your poison, right? Do you go for Dude or do you go for a Nebri? So unless we get more wind physical characters in the future, these two are going to be it, right? So we don't count Zenith. Zenith doesn't do damage, she's more of a debuffer. So there's that, right? Very, very strong. Eclipse, like I mentioned, one of the strongest, definitely the strongest dark type DPS. Like, look at my account, right? I have all of them at +5. I can vouch for her. Alright, if you can get all of her at +5, she is insane. You can rotate between these costumes. Very, very useful in Tower of Salvation. This particular one gives you the SP that you need, can also steal SP from the enemy. This particular one gives you massive range, does a lot of damage. By the way, this one will come later next week in a banner. So if you can get some copies of her, I will definitely make a separate video about that, right? But this is also going to be pretty good. And then of course this one you get for free. She just has all the tools needed to basically cover the range that you need depending on the situation, right? You can see this one is cross tile, this one is like in the plus tile, this one is like a 3x3, this one is like a very unique range. So I think that if you're trying to like start somewhere in trying to like build a dark type magic DPS character, is either going to be Natus or Eclipse. So Eclipse, again, maybe a little bit more expensive because she has more costumes. That means you got the potential to liberate her more. She's gonna need more tiers of goddesses, etc, etc. So there's that as well. But one of her costume may come later this year in a rerun. Last but not least, Water Park Queen Wilhelmina. Now, do I recommend to get a lot of dupes for this, right? Just get, for now, I think for a lot of players, you can get one copy for now, right? Again, the good stopping point, if you get +0, is cool and all. +1 is going to be 4 SP, but if you can get up to +4, it's going to be 6 turns, but it's not that big of a deal, right? In terms of the damage, the main one is going to be this particular one. Like if you have this one +5, then consider getting more copies of this. But if your this particular Wilhelmina is like +0 and you're trying to +5 this, it's not going to do much for you, right? So I feel like just take it easy for the time being, right? So she is in the standard banner. I feel like she's not the priority for a lot of players, right? So it really depends on what you're trying to do. Ideally, this particular one is going to make more sense. Now this one, she can do damage as well. If you want to like get her higher to increase the multiplier, sure, but it's going to be a little bit expensive. She does hit in a very kind of an odd V-shaped tile, but in my opinion, if I have to pick one, right, REFI is still going to be the priority. The other 3 is going to depend on your roster, right? It's very specific to your roster. Get Wilhelmina if you already get this +5. If Eclipse, if you already got a couple of others, you're trying to complete it, sure, right? They did buff this particular costumes multiplier as well to 220%. Before this was like 180. So she's definitely stronger now. Can also hit 3 times. I use her a lot in the tower, right? Gives you the range. Nebri, strong, but the priority should be the office one. That one should be +5. If you don't have +5 of that, then this one is the stopping point is mostly just going to be +1, right? Other than that, it's just going to do a little bit more damage here and there, right? Everything is just going to give her a little bit more damage. +1 is going to be the good stopping point for the SP increase. Alright, so with that being said, that's going to be it for this particular video. Get Wedding Refitia, please. Get the pure white blessing. That's going to be the most important one. As always, subscribe, give it to your like. Have a nice day. Goodbye.